Hey guys, it's Chris, the Ultimate Recycler. I'm in my emergency storage shed, but it's not an episode of the emergency storage shed clean out series. This is another video that I'll probably be doing regularly. It won't be a new series as such, but in light of my recent huge e-waste marathon processing series that was very well received, I collect e-waste all the time, and a lot of it I don't film. So I thought I'll film this lot. There's a pile behind me in the emergency storage shed. It's not being stored here. It's only just landed here, about to go through to the bench and be sorted out. So don't worry about that. I'm not refilling this shed. But I thought I might as well film what I do with e-waste because it does come in all the time. Now, the big episode I did a while back was one huge trailer load from a guy that was cleaning up in a deceased estate. But every Monday I call into the local charity shop or op shop or thrift store, and they put all their e-waste aside for me to pick up because they know I'll recycle it. They're fine with me testing it and selling it or fixing it and all that sort of stuff. They just don't want the bother of taking it out to the transfer station, and they won't sell electrical stuff because there's no one there that's able to test it. So they're much happier handballing it to me. I can make some dollars and I get to decide what to do with it. So I'm going to do a video fairly regularly on my pickups, and maybe every week. We'll see how we go. But this was last Monday's pickup down on the floor behind me. Let's bring it through to the bench and I'll show you how I deal with it. It's a fairly typical pile, mostly appliances, household appliances, because that all gets donated to the op shop regularly. We do get a lot of printers that I don't do much with, and some of the appliances you wouldn't believe how disgustingly dirty they are, and yet they've been donated to the charity shop. I think people use the charity shops as a bit of a dumping ground sometimes because it saves them going out to the transfer station. So I'm happy to deal with it all, sort it out. We'll test some things. We'll see if we can find some stuff to sell to make it worth my while time-wise. And there's another little challenge I have with myself each week. I'll explain that shortly. Okay, we'll bring this tub through first and we'll deal with this, otherwise I won't have enough room on my bench. So my challenge to myself is every time I go to the op shop on a Monday, or if I miss Monday on a Tuesday, I go there once a week. Every time I go there, I'm saying to myself, all right, getting all this e-waste for free, I should make some dollars out of it. I'll buy something out of the charity shop every time I'm there. Regardless, without fail, I'll try and find something that I can make some money on. Now, I don't haggle their price. I'm happy to pay with their price. In fact, normally I pay them a bit extra, but I'm only picking up stuff that I reckon I can double or triple my money on. Now, look, I'm a second-hand dealer. I've got to make money out of stuff I buy, and realistically, the treasures that I pick up would be selling to someone else at the same price, or they might even haggle. So I'm not doing the op shop out of any dollars, but I'm trying to challenge myself to pick up something every week to either use or to make some money on in my shop. And I've had a pretty good run. In fact, I haven't missed a week, and I'll show you what I've got this week. But let's get through this tub first and sort out some of this e-waste. Okay, this is quite typical. We have some kitchen appliances. We have an old clothes iron. We have, I think that's actually, there's an Electrolux stick vacuum cleaner still out in the shed, so that goes with that. But we often get a lot of appliances, so we'll check these out and see if they're worth selling. Often a lot of old phones that are just outdated and no one buys these anymore. That one's had the antenna broken off, so it's clearly no good. So some of this stuff I will just put straight in my crates to take out to the transfer station. So some of the stuff I just basically duck shove straight out there, and hopefully it gets recycled and they can do something with the plastic and they can get some precious metal recovery out of it. But I'm not going to muck around with things like this. This is very light. There's no value in this for me. It's not a saleable item. It's broken anyway, and I'm not going to pull things apart for a meager little circuit board that's hardly worth anything. Sometimes we'll scrap stuff out, especially if it's interesting, but on something like this I'll just send straight out to the transfer station. I will of course chop the cords off things that I deem are not worth fixing. In fact, this one here, well, this is the iron. I just noticed the cord is all taped up, so obviously the wiring has a problem, so I can't pass that as a safety tested appliance with the cord like that. And an older iron like this is probably not worth, yeah, the sole's quite worn. It's not worth putting a new cord on. It's a Phillips. It was probably an okay iron in its day, but it's getting back a bit. So with a damaged cord and wear to the base, I'm just going to send that straight to the transfer station after cutting the cord off. You can if you can be bothered taking the plastic off or smashing it off, you can sell the actual hot plate part of it as irony aluminium, but it's not worth a great deal. Sometimes I take them apart, depends how much time I've got up my sleeve. All right, we'll put that one aside because we're definitely either scrapping that or at least taking the cord. Here we have a desk lamp. I do get lots of lamps and I resell these through the shop all the time. Usually they're in perfect working condition, so we'll test this one out. It's got an inline switch. As long as the cord's okay, it doesn't appear to have any damage, we should get $10 back on that with a test tag on it, so that's going to be some good return for me. This looks like some sort of blender. It must have other parts for it, and that sometimes all these parts get all mixed up. We'll find the other bits for that. This is a sandwich press or a grill. Oh, it's actually a pie maker. Now this one's clean enough, but sometimes when the actual Teflon finish is starting to flake off them, I won't sell them because it's not a very safe thing to do health-wise to use one of these if all the Teflon's flaking off. This one looks clean enough, so it's probably worth giving that a test. Sometimes I might only ask $5 for them, which is fine because it's much better value than I'd get for scrap. These ones, scrap-wise, you will get... these are cast aluminium, the hot plates, but they do have an element on the back of them, so unless you can remove that easily, and I'll probably do a video on that on some stage because I've got a few stacked aside to do. But most of them, if it's a molded element, they have to go as irony aluminium, so there's not much value. Most of this appliance is actually just plastic. Of course, we could take the cord, but it's not very long anyway. But that one's clean enough to test and maybe sell. All right, I'm running out of bench space very quickly. We'll go through the rest of this tub and then we'll sort these things out. Now here's something I purchased. This was 50 cents. It's a Bessemer, like a barbecue plate from the 70s. It says Bessemer made in Australia, Melmac. So it's that plasticky material. These are actually fairly collectible. This particular design I think sells quite well. So I would expect I might nearly get $10 for this for 50 cents. So that was pretty good. Sometimes I do advise the shop on what they can get for stuff and they can try it, but generally speaking, I can get a lot more for some things in my shop than the charity shop can get. Here's some headphones. It's missing one of the pads. It may actually be in this box, so we won't throw them out yet until we see if it's here. We have a remote control from a DVD player. I'm not sure if I have the DVD player, but I like getting remote controls because quite often, oh, this one hasn't, but quite often I can get good batteries out of them. Not corroded, so that's good. I will keep remote controls even if I don't have the item that they control, because sooner or later I'm after one. So that's Magnavox. They turn up quite often, the DVD players. It might be still in this lot. Okay, I'm not sure what this plastic is off. That looks like a charger dock for that phone we had. Very light, no value at all in that, so that'll be going to Ewaste. So there's bits and pieces out of all sorts of things here. I'll have to match them up at the end. This might be something they go with. What is this? It's a coffee maker. Oh, it must be just a percolator one. Very simple, feels really light. Just about all plastic. Yeah, it's got a filter thing in here, which would be a handy little filter for something, so I might even hang on to that. I don't think the item itself is going to be saleable, but we will check it out, make sure all the parts are here, and we might be able to get $5 for it. A computer mouse, I do sell these. It's the optical one. The cord's nearly broken where it's come out, so not worth trying to sell that. I get lots of mice, and if they're in good condition, I'll sell them at $5. It's a USB one, so still quite useful, but not with the wiring like that. So I'll just chop the wiring off this. The mouse can go to the transfer station. I don't think this one has a battery in it, being a corded mouse. And we'll put the wire in our data cable wire bin. So we'll get some value there. That looks like part of the coffee percolator. And here we have a DVD player, but it's an LG. So it's a Blu-ray disc player actually. So hopefully have the remote for that one. We'll give that a check. I do get a lot of cords that sometimes I sell too. That's a HDMI cable, so that will sell. And also chargers. I keep all the chargers because I can sell those as well. I'm not sure what that suits. It might have suited the phone we had. Oh, and here's another thing I found. A really nice little Australian pottery jug. You can see it's had the glaze ground back on it, so it's an earlier piece. The 3 dots are where it stood on a little stand in the kiln. It's a sort of a, I'm not sure if it comes out on camera, but it's a really rich dark brown colour. I think it's fairly early. I think it's probably 1930s or so. It could be Bendigo pottery. There's no marks on it. Maybe it's not quite that old, but it's certainly a quality piece of Australian pottery. I would probably have $10 on that, and I picked it up for $2. So I've done pretty well this week out of the shop. All right, let's get this tub out of here. We'll round up the rest of the bits, and then we'll start mix and matching them to get them all together and see what complete items we have. Okay, I thought it best to unpack the other box of smalls, and then we can sort out what bits we have. I did pick this lampshade up from out of the shop as well. It's in good condition, and I think that was just $3. The tag must have come off. I think that was $3, but quite often I get lamps from the shop that are put in the e-waste pile, and then they take the shades off and put them in their shop there to sell, and I can pick up the shades and put them back on the lamp and sell it complete. It may suit another lamp I've got at the shop. I tend to pick up the shades when they're in good condition, because obviously that's the first part of the lamp. It gets damaged when they're thrown out into e-waste usually, so that's a good one, pretty much as new. Happy to pick that up for $3. All right, what's in the rest of this box? We have a lamp. It's like an 80s or 90s touch lamp. It doesn't have the top section. In fact, it looks like that's been broken off. All these little bits of wire are very sharp, so whatever was on top has been broken. Don't know if we're going to do much with that. I guess we can put a light globe in it and see if the actual touch lamp mechanism works, assuming it is a touch lamp, but there's no switch, so I'm guessing that's what it is. Sometimes I get these in the shop where the electronics of the touch sensor plays up. We might be able to use this base if that's the case, so we'll check that out first before we throw it to the e-waste. Here we have a landline phone. Again, oh, that's broken. Something's come adrift there. I guess that was the antenna. It's broken off. So again, this will just probably be scrap. There might be a board in this worth saving. I'm not sure. We might have a look. I can take the handpiece out of it. The wire will go in data cable. And yeah, there's the handpiece. Sometimes these have a nice heavy weight in them. This one's actually quite light. So we'll just probably salvage the wire out of that and have a look, see if there's a good board in there. Oh, there's a little wall charger for it, so we'll keep that. It's 9 volts at 0.5 amp, so worth hanging on to that one. That's probably part of something else in here, I'm not sure. We have a ceiling fan light kit. So this is the oyster light that goes on the bottom of your ceiling fan. And it doesn't have the shade. It just has the actual mounting part and the globe holder. So that's brand new. I don't know what happened to the shade. I don't know if it's worth trying to sell or not. Maybe the shade, I don't think it's in here. No. So we'll not have to work out what to do with that. I will use the bubble wrap. Here we have another kitchen appliance. This one's a little, what are these? Little donuts. Not sure what they're called. This one looks pretty much new. It doesn't look like it's been used at all. That's a bit rough on the top. Homemaker, so it's a cheap brand. It is a donut maker, but it's clean enough to try and sell. It's lost one of the little rubber feet, but we can see if that one works. Not much scrap value again, mostly plastic. Old computer floppy drive. Will they sell? I don't know if I've got any way of testing that at the moment. I could hook it up to the old test computer I've got here, but that's got to be worth something, at least $5. Instructions for the telephone. All right, so we're scrapping the phone. That can go in the recycle bin for paper. Looks like some sort of hair gadget. Is it a curl? It's not a curler, is it? Something. Does that open up? Oh, there we go. Oh, it's a little mini straightener. That looks as new. Anko is a cheap brand. I think they were an Aldi brand, but it looks absolutely brand new. So if that tests safe, we should be able to get $5 for that. Cord looks okay. Now we have a hose here with some electrical wiring. Oh, this isn't a hose. These have lights in them. It's decorative. It's like a light rope, I think they call it. So we can check that and see if it works. Someone might like it for Christmas decorations. There is a power pack with it, so that's easy to check. And some more Christmas lights. We always get lots of these. Pretty hard to sell, but if I just put them in the shop for $5, I usually have them plugged in and working. So $5, not worth very much as scrap, because the copper wire in these is very fine, and I think most scrapyards have a separate category for Christmas lights and they don't pay very much. But we'll see if they work. We might be able to sell them. It's the right time of the year. Alright, let's make some sense out of this big pile, and then we'll deal with a few bigger things that are still out in the other shed once we get through this. Not sure what that's from. Okay, I've got my appliance tester here. Let's plug in these Christmas lights. And, oh yeah, they work. Oh, they're fading out. Oh, they're coming. Yeah, okay, so there's some sort of cycle to them, different colours. They're pretty nice. Okay, so they're not all working. Oh, and yes, they are. Yeah, because they're different colours. All right, so that looks perfectly fine. We'll just put $5 on those. But there's nothing wrong with the power transformer. The wiring looks okay. So hopefully we'll get $5 back on those. I'll put those straight in the box to go to the shop. And now let's see if this light rope works. They're low voltage, so there's not really a major danger issue if there's problems with the wiring. But I do check it so that it's safe and the transformer part is not damaged. Righto, let's power this one up. And what do we have? We have a few green lights flashing, only one segment. Only the last few. Okay, so this has some sort of internal wiring problem. Maybe it got moisture into it or something. So that one's not saleable, and it's not worth pulling apart for anything other than we'll save this wire. So we'll turn that off. It's still running a little bit. It's unplugged and it's still running a little bit, I guess, on the discharge of a capacitor in the little power supply here. So we know the power supply works. But it's a very light switch mode power supply, and it's a weird voltage, so it's only suitable for these sorts of things. I don't think I'd ever have a use for this, and as I said, there's no big transformer in it. It's really light, so that can just go for e-waste. Let's plug that back in and chop the wires off. And we'll cut the wires off the rope. So there we get some insulated wire to sell, and the rope can go into the e-waste tub. Okay, let's check this little straightener. The cord was okay, the power light comes on, and yep, both sides are getting hot, so it works perfectly fine. Turn it off, and it tests safe, so that's good. That's a perfectly saleable little item. Just put $5 on that, I think. I expect that's pretty much brand new, or maybe only ever used once. So someone will like getting that one, I'm sure, for $5. Okay, let's get something off the top. This donut maker, not sure what's going on here. I think that was just a protective film over that part, but there's no advertising on there. That's weird. It looks absolutely brand new, probably never been used, but it's got a few bumps and bruises from being stored, perhaps. Let's plug it in and see if it goes. Okay, we've powered it up. Let's see if there's an earth. Yep, there's an earth, so it's safe. Is it heating up? Oh yeah, that one is getting warm. So is that. So it's warming up. There's no indicator light here that's working though. Okay, it is working fine. The lights are on. They're very hard to see because it's so bright here with the big ring light on. But the red light was on when I covered it over a bit, and the green light's just come on when it's up to temperature, and it's nice and warm, so that works perfectly fine. We can put a tag on this one to say it's tested safe, The only thing it does need is a little rubber stopper on this foot, but I might have something for that because I tend to keep rubber stoppers when I do scrap stuff, because it's amazing how often you need them. So that's probably only going to be a $5 item. It's not a good quality one, but the fact is that it pretty much is brand new, and who doesn't like a good donut? Okay, let's get this big one out of the road. This was a pie maker, wasn't it? And it's pretty clean. It's been used, but it's pretty clean. Again, we've got the red light and the green light when it gets up to temperature. The cord's not damaged. Doesn't appear to have any issues. Let's plug it in. Power it on. This one we can see the orange light's on straight away. Make sure we've got an earth. Yep, it passes, that's good. And we're getting, oh, it is getting warm, it's taking a while. And that's working as well, yep. Alright, so that one passes. We'll leave it on until the green light comes on to make sure that's all working. But that one, again, I'm probably just going to ask $5 for it. I don't like to overprice these things, even though they're probably a fair bit more expensive to buy new. And this one certainly looks presentable enough, but I like them to sell quickly, and if people get bargains in my shop like this, they'll come back for more stuff. So a lot of people that do test and tag of equipment actually charge $5 per item to test it and tag it, whereas I'm only selling this whole thing for $5 with, I'll put a tag on it, but it keeps it out of the waste stream. Someone will be wrapped to get something that's safe to use and perfectly functional for just $5. And really, I've got it for nothing, as I've said. So I think that's why the charity shop liked me taking the stuff, because it keeps it in circulation. We are helping people out, especially lower income people that can't afford new stuff, with cheap items that are safe to use. And I'm still making pretty good money for my time, so I think that's a good win. Okay, that's working fine. It's come up to temperature, the green light's on. So that's all good. Just needs a tag, and that's right to go. Alright, let's get through this stuff. We were going to test this touch lamp to see if it works. It takes a Edison screw globe with the small end, and I think there's one in this other lamp over here. This one. Okay, we'll borrow this for the moment. Oh, I just noticed this lamp is cracked. The base has actually been broken. Well, that's no good. We can't sell that. Look at that. I don't know why people donate broken goods to the op shop. As I said, I think it's just a cheat's way of getting rid of rubbish. But we might be able to salvage some parts off that lamp. Alright, let's see if this one works. So I'll put this in here. I'll plug it into the appliance tester. And does the touch lamp? Yes. Okay. So the mechanism on that touch lamp works. I'm going to hang on to that for parts, because sometimes as I mentioned earlier, I have ones where the touch lamp electronics don't work for some reason. I think I can swap bases around. This collar should just unscrew. I'll turn it off now. I think that'll just unscrew from there. So it'll possibly be useful. That globe will go into my stash of good globes. And we'll put this aside because I have another couple of touch lamps that need repair, and they do sell quite well. These touch lamps with the glass shades, I get about $20 for now. They sell quite well. Alright, so we'll just hang on to that for parts. No value there at this stage. Let's get back to this other lamp. Well, I'll keep the cord with the switch. The switch feels okay. Okay, it's got it untangled. There's not much wire from the switch to the cord though. Sometimes I use these wires on standard lamps, on large floor lamps, and I do need much more wire from the switch up to the globe. So, but this one might be handy for some other use. This is all plastic. Sometimes I keep these flexible shafts. I've got some stashed away here for making lamps out of. I think this one's just steel. It is. And even the shade's steel. So it's not an aluminium shade. I think the easiest way with this thing, this one is just to snip the cord off, And yeah, I don't need any of that, so that can all go to the transfer station. And I don't think I'll keep this cord because this wire from the switch to the globe is so short. So what we'll do is we'll snip the switch out of it, we'll snip the plug off. We've got some insulated copper wire to sell. Okay, let's get into this other appliance. We're gradually making room on the bench. This is a Mistral, and it's a toasty maker. Now, it's a bit dirty actually, it's a bit oily, but it looks to be in reasonably good condition. So I might give that a bit of a wipe over with paper towel just so it's a bit more presentable. But it's clean enough, it's not scratched up. It's got one little dent in the top there. But I think that's quite saleable, assuming it works. So let's give it a test. Make sure we have an earth. Yes, it earths to the metal. Make sure it's warming up. Yep, that's all working fine. I'll leave that get hot and I'll get some paper towel and just wipe it out. But the rest of it's pretty good and test safe. So we should be able to get $10 for that one. I think the toasty makers are pretty popular. There we go, they're not hard to clean when they're hot. Okay, we have our HDMI cable, which looks fine. I usually sell these at $3 each. Now we have a power pack here. This one actually, I think, yeah, it plugs into the LG Bluray disc player. So it runs off 12 volts, 1 amp. This must be the power pack for it, yeah, 12 volts, 1.5 amps. So we'll need to get a TV set up to test that one. This one I think here was for the phone. Yes, it's still wrapped around the phone. So let's pull these out because we're going to scrap the phone. We'll check if there's a good board in that. We'll take that apart in a second. Snip the plugs off the phone cable. And also the handset. More data cable. And this is 9 volts, 500 milliamps. So we'll put that with the chargers at the shop, and I sell these for $5 each. I get a lot of them, but people do buy them. There's always people looking for a power pack for something, whether it's a replacement for something they own or whether it's just to run some LED lights or something. So they can go to the shop. Let's have a look in this phone, see if there's any good boards in here. Oh, there's a bigger board in here than I thought. It's got a nice big chip on it, but most of it's kind of junky, low value. So I don't know that you'd get away with that in your mid-grade boards unless there's chips on the back of it. Wow, there's a lot of screws holding that down. What's on the back? No chips, just plain on the back. So there's too much junk and dead weight on that to go as a mid-grade board. The only really nice thing is this large chip. There's actually a battery on it too. So I could possibly break this side, just snap it in half, and that could go into mid-grade boards. I might keep the other half just for now because it's got a few capacitors. I'm sometimes looking for an unusual size that I don't have in my store of parts. So it's handy to have a few boards just to go through. So let's see if we can break the edge of that board off. That wasn't too bad. So we'd get away with that in the mid-grade boards because it's got the good chip and there's not much junk, just a little tin cover. There's probably another chip under there. So that's some value there. And I'll hang on to this, but normally this would just go into low-grade boards, which I just take out to the transfer station. Some of you guys have buyers for low-grade boards, but they're not worth very much. The rest of this phone can just go as e-waste. And as a bonus, we've got a few screws. Okay, the iron, we're just going to snip the cord off. And I'm not going to try and salvage the aluminium. This can go straight to e-waste. Don't have the time. Chop the plug off. And we have some more insulated wire. Now the headphones, I don't have the other pad for it. I think they're only a very cheap brand anyway. Shintaro, never heard of them. But they don't look to be excellent quality or anything like that. So given that we can't sell them when they're missing a pad, I'm just going to chop the cord off that. And I'm sure you'll all jump up and down in the comments if they happen to be a super rare, valuable pair of headphones, but I really doubt it. I keep the little ties because I use them for wrapping up cables. And we've got to cut the switch out of here and the plug off the end. And we have a bit more data cable. Alright, this is the last thing. Oh, we've still got the coffee machine. I'm not sure what this is. Russell Hobbs. It's some sort of blender, I think. Does this go with it? I think it does, but I don't have any more of it. So I don't think the rest of it was at the op shop. I didn't leave anything in the crates, so I don't think this is going to be worth anything as it is. It will be an electric motor in here, but it doesn't feel overly heavy. So I'm not going to waste time. Just chopping the cord off it. And the plug. Some more wire. They can go to e-waste. And I think these were part of it, but I don't have the rest. So they can go to e-waste as well. Okay, now we move along to this coffee maker. And it actually says an iced coffee maker. But it's very, very light. It's 90% plastic. Anko, again, is a very cheap supermarket brand. And all I'm going to do here is keep that filter because it's such a fine filter, it might be handy in the shed. But the rest of it is all going straight to e-waste. It's all scratched up, it's quite dirty. I don't think it's worth the time to even clean, let alone test and tag. So I'm chopping the cord off it. Sometimes I've just got to deal with things quickly or I never keep up. Bit of cord, that's off to e-waste. And I'm not sure still where that came from. Is it magnetic? No, it's stainless steel, or it can go in our stainless steel bins. Now, the only thing left on the bench at the moment to deal with is this light assembly, and we don't have the glass for it. The box actually is quite solid. I might probably use the box. I'll take the instructions out. They can go to the recycle bin. I'll keep the bubble wrap in the box because I can post out some eBay items in that box. This is mostly just steel. A little bit of hardware on the back, or at least one nut. Hang on to that. The actual light fitting itself is ceramic, and there's a ceramic connector block here. We'll just whip both those out, I think. So that can just go in our pressing steel bin, and we'll take the... Oh, I'll leave that complete. I do have a box at the shop for light fittings. That's obviously a brand new one with a connector block, and I think I've just got $1 each or something, so that can go in there. Someone will have use for it. And a few more screws. We never found out what this white bit suited. It must have belonged to something else that either didn't end up in my bins at the op shop, or perhaps it got mixed up with something else, but that'll just have to go in the rubbish. Still got to test the DVD player once we get a TV out here. And obviously I don't have the Magnafox DVD, so this will go into my box of remotes. So we better clean the bench off and get a couple of the bigger bits in and finish up this video. Okay, this one is an electronic bread maker. It's a Breville one, baker's oven. Now I would think, being a Breville one, it's probably a fairly expensive one. It looks pretty clean. I get bread makers sometimes from the op shop that were absolutely disgustingly dirty. This one's nice and clean. Not too bad in there. So I'm assuming it works. I don't know much about bread makers, but I guess we can power it up and make sure it is obviously safe and see if the functions work. But I think that's more than a $5 item. Let's plug it into the appliance tester and see what happens. Okay, it's come to life. That's a timer, basic, start, stop. Oh, okay, it's doing something. Okay, well, that sounds like it's working to me. I don't exactly know. I've never used a bread maker, so I don't know all the functions. Is the element getting warm? No, I don't know how that happens. So that's on basic, which I guess is just mixing. Okay, the control panel seems to work. It seems to go through all its functions. I don't know how the element comes on. It might be part of its cycle. I'm assuming it's in good working order. But what I'll probably do with this is I'll probably put it in the shop. I'll check a price on them, but I'll probably put it in the shop very cheap for what they probably go for normally. I'll put a tag on it. It tests safe. And we will probably do something like either $20 or $10 or something, with a note to say if it doesn't work properly, bring it back for your money back. So a bit of a guarantee for people. It's not an ongoing warranty, but it's a guarantee that it is working. I should have checked the earth. Yes, the earth is good. And that way someone who buys it will hopefully know what they're doing, or find the manual for it and work out how to operate it properly. And if it does have a fault, well, I'll happily give them the money back. But I think it's probably a pretty good one. I'll have to look up a price. But it seems to test out okay, and it seems to do what I expect it to do. Okay, it's the next day and I need to finish off this stuff, and this video's turned into a bit of a marathon, so hopefully you enjoy it. This is a keyboard cover and copy holder. It's quite vintage because we've got the old beige clicky type keyboards, so it's probably 1990s, and it looks like it's just a dust cover really. Alright, so that's going to have very limited market these days. Oh yeah, I guess it just clips over your keyboard and you have a cover that comes down, keeps the dust off it. And I don't know where the copy holder part is. Oh yeah, okay, if that's up like that you can stick your paper in there maybe. I don't think it's of much value. It looks like it was at a garage sale for $3. I've got a $2 box at the shop. I think we'll just take the 3 off and put it in the $2 box, and someone will maybe have a use for it. It's not really e-waste, but I guess it's related to computers. So that deals with that. Next we have an electric blanket. Now I don't want to get it dirty because it looks like a near new one. Let's just isolate my oily old workbench and we'll have a look at this. So I get a lot of these in the e-waste. They get donated to the op shop all the time, and they don't want to sell them for risk of the things being faulty. And of course, electric blankets have been known to start house fires. How do we get into it? Looks like it's probably a large size, a queen maybe, or a double. It's got 2 controllers, so we'll work out, it should say what size it is. No, it doesn't say on there. But we can test it to make sure it's working. And I'm just going to sell it cheap because I don't want these things hanging around, but it's a shame to throw it out if it's in perfect working order. There's no scrap value in these. The wiring inside the blanket is not copper, so you only have short leads, and that's the only scrap value you've got. But we can test it on the appliance tester and make sure it's safe. Where does that one go? It's that one. So we have high, medium, low heat settings, and that one tests fine. And the other side is okay as well. And the controller works fine. I'll probably just leave it on to make sure it warms up okay, but I'm just going to put this in the shop seriously just for $5. I'm sure someone will really appreciate it when winter comes around again. I'll have to, of course, work out what size it is. But shouldn't throw these things out, shouldn't send them to the waste stream if they're still perfectly usable, and as long as they're tested. I don't need to get much return on them because it only takes me a matter of seconds to test it. So $5 back on the electric blanket. Now probably the things I get the most of are old printers, and unfortunately I can't do much with them. Usually they're out of ink or they have a fault. This one looks like it's been in the weather. The stickers have all deteriorated well and truly. Sometimes I do get a supply of paper out of them. What I normally do at the shop is plug them in, and especially if they've got a photocopier function and they've still got some ink left, we'll photocopy off as many of our sales sheets as we can just to use up the ink, so we're getting some value out of them. But I don't try and sell these printers. They're just, even if they do work, the ink cartridges are more expensive to buy than the actual printer. So unfortunately, with these things, I just send them straight to the transfer station. I don't worry about trying to get a little board out of them. It's usually not a very big board anyway in these modern printers. And sometimes they take you 20 minutes to get into them with all the plastic housings and everything. I do get the cord, so the cord's okay. I've got plenty of these at the moment, and this one's an old one. It looks like it's got some paint on it. So I'll just chop the plugs off this for the scrap wire, and this can just go to the transfer station. Now I have another printer here, and this one's actually in a box. And sometimes I do get them where they're brand new, never been unpacked, in which case they're going to have okay ink in them unless it's gone and outside its use by date and it's dried up or something. I'm not sure if this is new or someone's just retaped it. We better have a look. No, this printer is absolutely brand new, never been unpacked. Still got the original tape on it, all packed up in plastic with the instructions. I'm going to leave this in the box and I'm going to put it in the shop as a brand new in-box printer for just something like $20. Someone will get some life out of it. These were quite a nice little printer, these Pixma ones, and it will have ink in it, which are they only have small cartridges when you buy them new, but I'm sure someone will get some use out of it. So there we go. Hopefully we can get $20 for that without even unpacking it. The next item out of the pile, and the second last item, is this Electrolux stick vacuum. I think they call it a stick vacuum. Has a little one come out, like what we used to call a dust buster. So I'm not sure how good that is. It's got a filter in there. Don't know if it works. And that's what this stand was for, that's been sitting here since we started the episode. I assume that one sits in there, and it does. But do I have a charger? Maybe that was the spare charger we had in the pack before. Let's see where it plugs in. Oh, in the side here. DC 15 volts. We don't have a 15 volt charger here. But that's another reason why I keep them at the shop, because not only do I sell them, but often I'm looking for one. I don't think I've got a 15 volt one at the shop all the same. But then, is it really worth trying to sell? It's pretty scruffy. We don't know if it goes. There's no power in it at the moment. What's it look like in here? How do we get into it? Oh, that slides forward. And the filter's in there. Just a nice fine little filter. So that part looks okay. I think it's a fairly old unit. I don't think, even though it's an Electrolux, I don't think it was an expensive one. And it looks pretty messy in here. Oh, there's an issue here. The little suction pipe here has splits along it, so it's not going to work as a vacuum. You're going to lose too much suction through those holes. Yeah, both sides. So the material has perished and it's starting to crack. So that's really no good. I don't expect this one's going to be worth it when you can't actually charge this on its own. It needs to go in this part, and no one's going to buy that when it's faulty. So I think this whole lot can just go straight to the transfer station. There's not even any cords. We didn't have a charger with it, as I said. So no scrap value, mostly plastic. This will just have to go to the transfer station as e-waste. But sometimes I do get those vacuums that are quite saleable. And the last item's also in a box, and it's a foot Spar. And it looks like it's pretty good. It's got little massage wheels at the bottom of it. Looks like it's probably only been used a couple of times, if that. I think these foot spars are much like exercise equipment. You buy them with good intentions and they never ever get used after the first 1 or 2 times. Anko, again, is that cheaper brand. I think it was Aldi. It's a supermarket brand anyway. These things, I think, retail at around about $60 odd or something like that. I'm only going to put $5 on this. I find them pretty hard to sell. I've had a few of them, and even in really good condition like this, $5 sometimes takes a while to find someone that wants one. And yet people still buy them new for 60 odd. So anyway, we'll leave it with the box. I will test it to make sure it works and make sure it's safe. But I'd say this one's pretty much still as new. Let's plug it into the appliance tester. And it passes. It's double insulated, so we don't need an earth test on it. All right, we have a vibration happening. There will be a heater in it too. I guess it just heats the water. And there's bubble vibration. All right, so that all seems to work. I'm assuming it'll get warm. So that can go in the shop for $5. Much better than going into the waste stream. Just testing this LG Bluray player, and it had a disc in it actually, which was All Aussie Adventures disc number 2. So quite often I find them still have discs in them. So the door opens well, which is good because that's often a common fault with these things. And if we fire it up, hopefully it'll show us something on the TV here. My little test TV, there you go, it appears to be working fine. It's also been a good chance for me to actually check that HDMI cable. So that all seems to be good. I've probably got a remote for this player at the shop, which is again another reason why I keep remotes. Let's turn that down. Wow, it was up to 85. Alright, so it's still a bit loud. So it looks like that's going to work fine. I'm not sure how we play when we don't have a remote, because it doesn't actually have any other buttons on it. So I think it definitely needs a remote, but I'm pretty sure I've got one, and it looks like it's going to work fine. It's reading the disc, and the door opens and closes. They're the two main faults with DVD players and Blu-ray players. So we'll call this one a goer with a remote. I'd probably just have $10 on it. I could probably get a bit more, maybe 15. And there we go. That'll be something else that we've saved from the waste stream. And that completes everything except for this little floppy drive. Now I could drag out my old computer and set up a monitor and plug it in and see if I can boot something off it or read a disc. I have got some discs somewhere. But for that time to set it up, I don't think I'm going to bother. I'm going to put this in the shop for $5 untested. I have sold them before that way. It's easy, quick, $5. Don't have to do anything. A fair chance it's in good working order. And people are starting to chase these things now for vintage computers, so that should be snapped up at $5. So that completes everything. I'll get the notepad ready and we'll have a look at what sort of value we got. And here's a few little extras we put aside along the journey, and I've explained them all as I've gone. So we've got some data cable there, some normal insulated wire, mid-grade board and a bit of stainless steel, and a few bits and pieces and some hardware. So our total for what we went through today, very achievable, $112. It's, as you saw, it's all very reasonably priced to sell quickly, and there's a lot of stuff there that would have gone to e-waste had I not picked it up from the op shop. So I'm really pleased to keep this sort of stuff in circulation, and I get a few bits and pieces for myself and some extra scrap as well. And that big pile you saw at the start of the video has now been reduced to this tub, the small printer and the vacuum. That's all that's going out to the transfer station as we e-waste after we're finished processing. That's pretty exciting, isn't it, Coco? Oh, yeah, you look really excited. And as a little bonus for me, I forgot to mention on the notepad, the 3 items that I purchased, the little jug, the Bessemer plate and the lampshade, around about $30 of value really there, and I spent $5.50. So yeah, if I was to sell that lampshade on its own, I'd put 10 on it, but I'll probably use that on a lamp in the shop. So I like to challenge myself to pick up something every week at the op shop that I can actually flip and make some dollars on. But the actual process of dealing with the e-waste is quite viable for me. I've made a bit over $100, and it doesn't usually take too long to go through. It took longer today because I was filming, and it does take a while to write out the tags for them after I've tested them all, but it ensures that the item's going to sell pretty quickly because it is tested and tagged. So it was worth my while getting that qualification to be able to do that, so that I can recycle a lot of e-waste rather than send it out to the transfer station. So good little system here. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. It did end up quite a marathon. I may not do them every week because I might not have time, but I do pick up e-waste from the op shop every week, as well as have other customers drop it into the shop. So I am processing a lot of this stuff. I'll keep filming these episodes if you enjoy them. So let me know below. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.